Nat 20s never hit harder than when you're in combat, unless you have the opportunity to roll a Nat 20 on a persuasion check to save the pantheon of your world. But considering that doesn't come up in the day-to-day sessions of most players, critical hits are right up there. Which is why we never want to experience the letdown of rolling really poorly on that critical hit. I mean, you and your players deserve the badass moment and dealing a shit ton of damage. So let's fix it. By the book, when a player rolls a Nat 20 in combat, they get to double the dice and then add modifiers. However, that means if you're hitting with, let's say, a dagger, you're rolling 2d4s instead of the standard d4, and you could, on that roll, get a 1 twice. You could deal 2 damage plus your modifiers on a critical hit, and that doesn't feel very good. So to make our Nat 20s count, my table has homebrewed a way to make critical hits, well, more critical. First up, for a critical hit, instead of rolling the dice for damage, the players and the GM for their enemies are going to take max damage for what that weapon can wield. So going back to our dagger example, that's 4 damage plus modifiers. Then, to spice things up even further, my table has what we like to call the critical hit table. And what this does is, depending on the type of damage being dealt, you're gonna get a little extra bonus. For our dagger that deals piercing damage, the amount of damage is going to get doubled, and since it's a critical hit, our 1d4 of damage instantly becomes 8 points of damage plus modifiers. For the other martial damages, slashing is going to give the opponent the bleed effect, where the bludgeoning attack is going to force disadvantage on the opponent for all d20 tests until the end of your next turn. And now for our more magical elemental damages, fire's gonna give the bleed effect, but aesthetically it's the burn effect. And cold damage is going to paralyze your opponent until the end of your next turn. Lightning damage makes each creature within 10 feet take half damage as sparks fly, which could be good or bad. Thunder forces your opponent to be deafened, and radiant damage forces your opponent to be blind until the end of your next turn. And then for necrotic damage, you could either force the opponent to be frightened of you until the end of your next turn, or prematurely give them 1 failed death save if they ever go down. For poison damage, we have the opponent is going to roll on the disease table, and for psychic damage, they're going to roll on the insanity table. And finally, acid damage forces the opponent to lose 1 non-magical item. So that's how we at Four Rings built our critical hit table, but we want to know, what effects would you give to each damage type? If you want to see these rolls in action, please be sure to check out our gothic horror campaign, City of Shadows, right here on YouTube. It follows our 3 highborns as they make their way through the dark Victorian city where magic is banned and monsters lurk in the woods. Plus, it starts off with a Salem-esque witch burning, and 2 of our players are playing X's that give Bridgerton levels of pining. And if you like our damage table, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more homebrewed content. Until we meet again over another round at the Four Rings Inn.